Real English for your daily life.
Master English together.
Have you ever just wanted to say, "I'm really tired today" at the dinner table, and suddenly it feels like a fight is about to break out?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. You say something simple, and before you know it, someone's accusing you of being too sensitive. The whole mood just tanks.
And it's not just adults. Kids roll their eyes when reminded about homework, and couples somehow turn a forgotten milk run into a cold war.
Yeah, who forgot the milk? Somehow becomes, why don't you ever listen to me? It's exhausting.
This episode is for anyone who's felt that sting, the frustration that your family conversations keep turning into small battles. It's not that you don't care. You do. But somehow, the words don't land the way you want.
And this is a B1 level episode, perfect for intermediate English learners. Beginners, you're totally welcome to join us too.
Today, we're going to dive into why these family talks go wrong so often, and even better, how two ideas, emotion coaching and family systems psychology, can help you stop those petty fights and build real support.
We found there's one thing a lot of people miss. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's about how feelings get tangled up in the conversation. And that little change can break the whole cycle.
Quick question. How many times have you found yourself stuck in a family argument that feels like it keeps coming back? Drop any number in your mind. 1, 5, more?
And stay with us until the end, because we've got a word tour that'll teach you 5 expressions that can totally change your family conversations.
I'm guessing some of you are listening while prepping dinner, or maybe trying to get kids to focus on homework. Whatever you're doing, this episode is for those moments when you wish your family could just understand each other better.
And later on, we're going to share one tiny trick that's easy to try but makes a big difference. But first, let's get into why family conversations often feel like battlefields instead of safe spaces.
Picture this. You walk in after a long day, drop your bag, and say, "I'm exhausted." Your partner hears criticism. Your kid hears a warning, and suddenly the room feels tense.
And that's the strange part. The sentence is tiny, but the reaction is huge. In family system psychology, people don't just react to your words. They react to the role they think you're playing.
So if I sound tired, someone else may hear, "Here comes the critic," or "Here comes the disappointed one." That's why family conversations can go sideways so fast.
Exactly. And once the old pattern starts, everybody falls into their usual lane. One person gets defensive, another gets quiet, and the whole thing turns into the same movie with a different title.
That feels so real and painful. You're not just arguing about the dishes or the homework. You're arguing about what the dishes seem to mean, what the homework seems to say, what the silence seems to imply.
Right. And that's why a family can be on the same page about the topic, but not on the same page emotionally. One person thinks they're solving a problem, the other feels judged.
That's the heartbreak of it. People keep saying, "I was only trying to help," but the other person hears pressure, control, or disappointment. The gap is usually emotional, not logical.
This is where emotion coaching starts to matter. Instead of jumping straight to facts, you name the feeling first. You show the other person that their emotion makes sense before you try to fix anything.
So if your teen snaps, "Leave me alone," you might say, "I can see you're frustrated." That doesn't mean you agree with the behavior. It means you're not treating the feeling like a crime scene.
Nice line. And honestly, a lot of families skip that step because they want speed. They want a clean answer, a quick apology, a neat ending. But feelings don't always work on a deadline.
And when people feel misunderstood, they guard themselves even more. They stop listening for meaning and start listening for threat. That's how one tiny comment becomes a whole evening of tension.
I've done that. Someone says, "Could you speak up a little?" And my brain instantly hears, "You're being annoying." Not proud of it, but very human.
Same. That little jump in the brain is so fast that you barely notice it. You just feel your shoulders tighten, your face heat up, and suddenly you're ready to defend yourself before the other person even finishes the sentence.
And that's why pick-up on matters so much. If you can pick up on the tiny shift in tone, the hesitation, the sigh, the look on someone's face, you can respond earlier and softer.
Like when a child says, "Fine," but their voice is shaky, you can pick up on the hurt underneath and say, "That sounded rough. Do you want to talk?" That's a very different doorway.
Exactly. And it changes the whole atmosphere. You're no longer just trading statements. You're reading the emotional weather in the room.
That emotional weather is what keeps families stuck. If one person grew up around criticism, they may expect criticism everywhere. If another grew up around silence, they may read silence as rejection.
And then the family becomes a system that repeats itself. Not because everyone wants drama, but because the pattern is familiar. Familiar can feel safer than new, even when it hurts.
That's such an important point, because people often blame the person in front of them when the real issue is the old cycle underneath.
So the goal isn't to win the moment. The goal is to break the cycle. And to do that, you need to notice when the conversation is slipping from content into protection.
For example, the real topic might be a missed chore, but the emotional topic is, "Do you see how much I do?" Or "Do you care when I'm overwhelmed?" That hidden topic is usually the one people are fighting about.
And if you jump too fast into solutions, the other person may feel bulldozed. They may think, "You're not hearing me, you're just fixing me." That can shut everything down.
Which is why the first move is often a small sentence, not a perfect speech. Something like, "I can see why you felt that way." That one line can lower the temperature.
It's almost unfair how powerful a simple sentence can be. People expect a grand speech, but usually they need proof that they're understood.
And when they feel understood, they're more likely to talk things through instead of locking the door emotionally.
Yes, talk things through, not talk over each other. There's a big difference. One builds clarity. The other builds noise.
Let's make this concrete. Imagine your sister says you never call unless you need something. If you defend yourself immediately, the old cycle starts again.
But if you pause and say, "I hear that this hurt you," you've already shifted the energy. You're not surrendering. You're slowing the spiral.
And that's where let your guard down comes in. Not all the way, not in a risky way, but just enough to stop acting like every sentence is a threat.
Right. Let your guard down doesn't mean you become vulnerable to being crushed. It means you stop wearing armor in a conversation that needs a human voice.
Armor at the dinner table is honestly too much. Nobody can eat a salad while emotionally wearing a suit of medieval steel.
Exactly. And yet so many families do something close to that. They enter the room ready to defend, correct, explain, and survive.
The interesting thing is that once one person softens, the whole pattern can shift. Not instantly, not magically, but enough for the other person to stop bracing for impact.
And if you're wondering, yes, this is hard. No one gets it right every time. But the point is to notice the pattern while it's happening, not 3 hours later in the shower.
We've all had that shower conversation where the perfect sentence arrives way too late.
The best lines always show up after the argument. Rude, but true.
So here's the real connection. Emotion coaching helps you name the feeling, and family systems psychology helps you see the repeating role. Together, they give you a way to respond without falling into the same trap.
And by the way, there's a phrase for that kind of pattern shift. It's called break the cycle. We'll unpack it later, but keep it in mind because it sits right at the center of this whole episode.
So as you listen, think about one family moment that keeps repeating. Who gets defensive? Who goes quiet? Who tries to fix everything too fast? That's the pattern we're trying to see clearly.
And once you see it clearly, you can start changing your response instead of just replaying the script.
So, Noah, I think the idea of emotion coaching and breaking those old family patterns sounds hopeful, but I get that it's not always easy to believe it works in real life.
Absolutely, Sarah. It's not a magic wand, but I'm convinced it's a better path than falling into defense and misunderstanding over and over.
But here's my question. Don't you think sometimes people are just too stuck? I mean, even if you're trying to say, I can see why you felt that way, the other person might not want to hear it. They might still feel attacked or misunderstood.
I see that point, but isn't staying stuck a worse choice? If you keep reacting with defensiveness, you fuel the same arguments. Emotion coaching at least offers a chance to calm down and open up.
But what if the person using emotion coaching sounds fake? Like they're just saying the right words without meaning? Couldn't that make things worse, more frustration, more suspicion?
That's fair, but if the intention is genuine, even if the words aren't perfect, it still tends to lower tension. People pick up on sincerity more than anything else.
Okay, but I'm worried that sometimes people hear these coaching phrases as excuses to avoid real issues, like using "I see how you feel" as a way to dodge accountability. Doesn't that risk letting problems simmer?
Good point, but I'd say it's the opposite when done well. Recognizing feelings doesn't mean ignoring facts. It's the opposite. You acknowledge emotions first, then talk things through the facts in a less charged way.
I get that in theory, but families often don't have that luxury. They have minutes, not hours. When tempers flare, people aren't calm enough to talk things through rationally. Can this work in those heated moments?
It might not be perfect in the heat of the moment. That's why we recommend a pause technique like stepping back to ask yourself, am I in the critic role, the rescuer, or the listener? That tiny pause can break the cycle.
That sounds useful, but what about people who don't want to change? Maybe they see these ideas as weakness or losing face. How do you convince them to drop defenses and let their guard down?
That's the hardest part. Change can feel scary, but usually repeated negative cycles are even more exhausting than vulnerability. The question is if people are tired enough to try something new.
I'm not so sure. Sometimes the fear of vulnerability is stronger than exhaustion. Letting your guard down might feel like opening a door to getting hurt more.
True, but that's where building trust slowly can help. Emotion coaching isn't about a big reveal. It's about small steps like daily 60-second check-ins to repeat what the other person said. It shows you're listening.
I like the sound of that. But isn't there a risk the 60-second repeat becomes mechanical? Like parroting words without really understanding?
That risk exists if it's forced. But if it's done with empathy and attention, it deepens connection. People feel seen. And feeling seen is the foundation for breaking old patterns.
I admit, I felt that shift when someone really hears me. It's rare but powerful.
Spot on. And remember, families are complex. No one method fits all. But emotion coaching and family systems theory give tools to start shifting roles from critic or rescuer to listener.
That shift sounds promising. But what if the other person refuses to step out of their old role? You try your best, but they keep pushing your buttons.
Then you control what you can. You stay in your lane, keep acknowledging feelings, pick up on cues, and protect yourself emotionally. You can't change others, but you can change how you respond.
That makes sense. Changing yourself breaks part of the cycle, even if others aren't ready.
Exactly. And over time, changing one person's approach can ripple out and reshape the system.
So the real question isn't just, can this work? But are you willing to try the tough work of breaking patterns even if it takes time?
Yes, because breaking cycle isn't a one-time fix. It's daily small steps of pause here, a calm reply there, a little more willingness to let your guard down.
I think we just summarized the hardest part of family life. It's less about perfect words, more about steady effort and patience.
Amen to that. And if you slip back into old ways, don't beat yourself up. Notice, pause, get back on track.
It's a long road, but every small moment counts, and that's why we keep talking about these ideas. So now we've seen the pattern, the emotion coaching, and the pause that helps families stop repeating the same fight.
Exactly, and those ideas all connect to the 5 expressions we used in the story.
You'll hear them again in a second, but this time we're going to unpack each one slowly and clearly.
No pressure, just a simple word tour that makes the language easier to use in real conversations.
When we said, "This keeps happening again," that was really the heart of Break the Cycle. It means stopping a repeating bad pattern before it runs the whole conversation.
Right. And in a family, that pattern can be tiny but stubborn. One person gets defensive, another gets quiet, then the same argument returns next week like it paid rent.
That image is painfully accurate. A good example is, "I want to break the cycle of yelling." Short, clear, and very human.
And notice the feeling in that sentence. It doesn't attack anyone. It just names the pattern and says, "I'm done with this loop."
That's a strong start because the next phrase often helps the whole room calm down on the same page. We use it when people understand each other or agree about what's happening.
Like this, "Are we on the same page about dinner?" Or, "Let's get on the same page before we decide." It's practical, and it sounds natural in real life.
Exactly. It's one of those phrases that can lower tension because it tells the other person, "I'm not trying to fight you. I'm trying to understand the picture the same way you do."
And when people are not on the same page, the problem isn't always the topic. Sometimes one person thinks it's about chores, and the other thinks it's about respect.
That's why the next phrase matters so much. Pick up on. It means noticing small feelings, hints, or signals before they turn into a bigger problem.
Yes, you might pick up on a shaky voice, a long pause, or that look someone gives when they're holding back tears. It's more than hearing words. It's noticing the emotional message under them.
A sentence like, "I picked up on your frustration," can feel surprisingly caring. It tells the other person, "I saw the clue you left, even if you didn't say it directly."
And honestly, families do that all the time without naming it. Someone sighs, someone else notices, and the whole tone changes. The skill is learning to notice it on purpose.
Once you notice the feeling, you still need a way to keep talking without turning it into a battle. That's where talk things through comes in.
Exactly. It means discussing a problem carefully until it feels clearer. Not rushing, not lecturing, just staying with the issue long enough to make sense of it together.
Like, can we talk things through after dinner? That sounds much calmer than we need to have a serious conversation right now, which often makes everyone instantly nervous.
Absolutely. Talk things through feels softer, like you're opening a door instead of slamming one. It gives both people room to breathe while they explain what they mean.
And the final phrase is the one that often makes the biggest emotional difference. Let your guard down. It means relaxing and stopping the need to protect yourself so much.
Right? Not in a reckless way, but enough to be real. You let your guard down when you say, "I'm tired and I don't want to fight," instead of pretending you're fine and snapping later.
That phrase matters because so many family arguments are really armor collisions. Everyone is so busy protecting themselves that nobody feels safe enough to speak honestly.
A sentence like, "I think we can both let our guard down here," can change the mood fast. It invites trust without demanding perfection.
And if you hear all 5 phrases together, they form a very human path. Break the cycle, get on the same page, pick up on the feelings, talk things through, and let your guard down.
That path is simple to remember, but powerful in practice. You can even try one phrase at a time, starting with the one that feels easiest in your home.
For example, if your child is upset, you might say, "I can see you're frustrated," and then let's talk things through. Those are small moves, but they shift the whole tone.
And if you're talking with a partner, you might say, "I want us to be on the same page." That's a soft way to invite teamwork instead of blame.
The beauty of these phrases is that they're not fancy, they're useful. They help you sound less like a prosecutor and more like a teammate.
Which is a much better role at home. Nobody wants the family dinner to feel like a courtroom.
Exactly, so keep these phrases close because they can make real conversations feel more possible. So today we looked at why family conversations go wrong so fast, and why it's usually not just about the topic. It's about fear, old roles, and the way people protect themselves.
And we also saw that emotion coaching can change the tone. When you notice the feeling first, you give the other person a chance to relax instead of react.
A few small moves can really help. Say one sentence that shows you understand. Pause before you answer and try to name the emotion under the words.
And if the room starts heating up, don't chase the perfect response. Just slow it down. Ask yourself, are we on the same page or are we just talking past each other?
My favorite part was the reminder that family systems are repeating loops. Not proof that anyone is broken. That shift matters because it takes shame out of the room.
I've had moments where I wanted to win the argument more than I wanted to understand the person. Honestly, that never helped. The moment I let my guard down a little, the whole conversation changed.
For a simple practice, try this tonight. Repeat back one thing a family member said in your own words for just 60 seconds. Then ask if you picked up on it correctly.
And if you feel the old cycle starting again, use the phrase we talked about. Break the cycle. Even a tiny pause can stop the usual pattern from taking over.
We'd love to know in your home what's the hardest moment to talk through without tension.
We read every single comment. Thanks for listening. Keep practicing these phrases, and we'll see you next time with more real-life English for real-life conversations.